Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing today? I'm Professor Simon Pegikoza. I will be dealing with the issue of research concept and paradigms. In this presentation, I've highlighted few concepts that are of your interest. Therefore, let's look at them. The first one will be research. What is research? A research is a systematic investigation or exploration into and study of material and sources in order to establish facts and reach new conclusions. So in other words, when we do research, there is a specific issue that we are interrogating. When we interrogate it through different materials as well as sources. So from those sources and material, we are able to establish the so-called facts. So we have our subjects that we teach or we learn because they were produced through research. If, for example, you have a mathematics content, that mathematics content was established through specific research. Then a conclusion then started to indicate that if you teach people this particular part, they will be able to do A, B, C, D. That's research. So research, it's the systematic investigation into something where we use our investigation skill or exploration skills to establish facts, and then those facts will then produce certain conclusions, and then those conclusions will be able to inform us on what to do in terms of our realities. But when we conduct research, we start by preparing a research proposal. A research proposal, it's a simple structured formal document that explains what you plan to research and why it's worth researching. So remember, the world consists of plans. If you go to teach, you have to go there with a lesson plan. So that lesson plan, it's a structured formal document that explains what you are intending to do. If you were to build a house, you ask the architect to draw a working drawing. That working drawing, it's a plan on what you'll do in order to build the house. Then if you go to business world, they will tell you about business plan. You see, wherever you go, you must know that there is a plan that you need to deal with. So in research, we have a research proposal. Research proposal is that document that will tell you exactly how you'll go about it and why you should be researching that part. After researching it, then we'll have to write a report. There are different kinds of reports, but research reports are recorded data prepared by researchers after analyzing information gathered or generated by conducting organized research. So now, after we have conducted a study, conducted a research, you will then have to write a report based on that research that we have conducted. Writing a report then it may be divided into different, according to the reason for your research. There's this part as students, you will come across the so-called dissertation or thesis. In our case at UKZN, when we write dissertation is when we are doing masters. For master study, we call our master studies research dissertation. But when we write our PhD studies, we call them thesis. Therefore, but universities use different terms. Other universities may use dissertation to represent PhD studies and use thesis to represent master studies. So, but dissertation or thesis, these are long piece of academic writing based on original research. So you write that according to the structures that are prescribed by your university. But this is the longest piece of work, because if you publish articles or book chapters, those are short reports that you write. But for thesis or dissertation, these are the longest ones that will ever write in terms of your life experience. And then the more research concepts, we have this so-called research topic. Research topic is a subject or issue that that a researcher is interested in dealing with. So in other words, you will also have yours after this module. You will be expected to write your own report where you will have to plan. You have to write a nice proposal, plan it, and then you'll choose it from a specific topic. You may find that if you're in mathematics, your topic that you'll choose, it's around mathematics, so issues of mathematics. But in order for you to focus well, you will have to take it from the topic and then produce a research title. A research title is a summary of the main idea or ideas of your research. So that is called a research title. So a research title then will have these kind of issues. One, it will indicate a phenomena. What is the phenomena of this? A research phenomena is any problematic issue or topic that is chosen as the subject of an investigation or exploration in order to produce literature review. That may be interrogated to produce a research framework based on the research focus. So you can see that a title now or topic will have a research phenomena in this, so a research phenomena which will indicate that problematic issue that you want to deal with. And then it will also indicate participant, who will be the participant or respondent or data source of this study. And then when you interrogate that phenomena, it will produce your literature review. So your report will have a part which we call literature review, where you are talking about other studies that were conducted in the field, and then you tell us exactly what they have done, and then what they have produced, and then what do you think is still missing according to your frame that you are working with. So when you do that, your literature review will then highlight some theories or frameworks that you can use. They may be theoretical framework or analytical framework. So theories that you can use to analyze your data, or theories that you can use to frame your whole study. So those frames are mostly reflecting your focus of the research, your research focus. In the same title or topic, you will also have to see that you indicate who are your participants or your respondents or your data source. So these issues now should be part of your title, which you can organize. So now participants, these are objects or persons that produce answers to be used to in addressing your research questions or your research objectives or hypotheses. In other studies, they have research questions, which usually the maximum of 3 or something like that. And then you may also decide to have objectives. For other studies, they also have objectives, which are statements that will be addressed by means of the data that is generated, that are generated from your study. And there's also other studies that will talk about hypothesis. A hypothesis, it's a statement which you have, or a closed question that you have, that need to be tested in order to come to a conclusion. So your research title then should show you what's the phenomenon, and then it should show you what is the focus of the study. It should also show you what then are your participants or your respondents. And then it also have to show you which context are you dealing with in terms of your subject or something like that. So here are some 3 examples that may be useful to you in terms of understanding these issues. First of all, if you talk about the phenomena here, it will be a students' experiences. Student experiences is the phenomena. So which means your literature should tell us exactly what are students' experiences. Students' experiences are divided into blah, 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 something like that, that you will have to tell us. When it comes to the focus of the study is learning using a learning management system. Learning using management system is the focus of your study. So you can see you have your phenomena, which experiences, and then the students' experiences, and then you have your focus of the study, which is learning using a learning management system. And then you can see that we have the context. Which context are we dealing with here? We are dealing with the context of business management education. So it's within the frame of business management education. We also have participants here. Who will participate here to produce your data? You will have your students. Students will be the participant. You see now we have participants here as the students. You have your phenomena here, which is experiences. You then have your focus, which is learning using learning management system. And then you also have the context, which is business management education. So this part here, the last part that indicate a literature review, it means you'll use a desktop, is a desktop study where you are not going to have participants. So when you select your topic, then for your report, you make sure that the title is spelling out what you will exactly be doing. Here's another one. This one, it's talking about the use of play in teaching literacy development. Now here you can see that your phenomena should be the use of play. So how many use do you have there? When they use it like this, is this and this. So the use is becoming your phenomena. And then when you have play in teaching, and then it's your focus. Your focus is play in teaching. Then you have the context in which you are pushing this towards is the literacy development. So you have those parts. So you have the use of play as your phenomena. You have play in teaching as your focus, and then you have literacy development as your context in which you'll be dealing with this issue from. And then in terms of participant, you may ask to say, then who is the participant here? Participant will be teachers here, because teachers are teaching, learners or students are learning. Therefore, the teachers are not included here, because it's known that when you talk about teaching, you are talking about teachers. So teachers here will then be your participant. But when you look at the last one here, the last title here or topic is saying play in teaching literacy development. So which means play here is both the focus of the study and the phenomena. Is representing two here. It's representing phenomena and also is also representing the focus of the study. And then you can see other parts are repeated there, where you have a play in teaching as your focus, and then you have literacy development as your context, and then teaching, teachers are teaching, therefore participants are teachers. So that's how you take this. So your topic may combine, in this case, the last one, your phenomena is combined with the focus. But in this one, the focus, the phenomena, the use of play is standing on its own. Play in teaching is standing on its own as the focus of the study. Up there, you also have different. So when you deal with this issue, you'll know that you will have the so-called focus phenomena, and then we'll have the focus. Sometimes the phenomena and focus may be combined. So understand that, and then we'll have the context. Where are you doing this thing? In this particular subjects, or in this place, if it is a place where you are conducting it. If it's maybe you are conducting it at the University of KwaZulu-Natal School of Education, that will also be your context of the study. So that's how you do that. And then what about research paradigm? A research paradigm is a philosophical way of thinking. So it's a worldview or set of common beliefs and agreement shared between scientists about how problems should be understood and addressed. That is Kuhn, who came up with this definition. So where it's indicating that it's a worldview or set of beliefs that scientists are agreeing in terms of using those to produce or to understand what the world is doing around us. And then in education, educational research is dominated by at least 4 paradigms. The first one is positivist paradigm. Others have moved it to post-positivist paradigm to say that the truth is there, but we may not be able to describe it, but it is there. That is post-positivist. But positivist is saying that truth is there, it has to be investigated, is waiting for us out there. Then we have a constructivist or interpretivist paradigm. Interpretivist paradigm indicate that we have so many realities out there. They are socially constructed according to our interest. We also have critical paradigm or transformative paradigm, as well as pragmatic paradigm. According to Lincoln and Guma, a paradigm comprised of 4 elements, which is epistemology. Epistemology is how we come to know what we know, how we come to understand reality. And then we have ontology. Ontology is talking about the nature of reality. So in each of these paradigms, they talk about their own ontology, which is the nature of reality, and they talk about their own epistemology, which is how we know what we know, how we know something or reality that we know. And then it also have methodology. There are methods that are used, so, and research design approaches and procedures that are used, guided by each of these four paradigms. And also we have also axiology, which is the issues of ethics. What ethics or ethical issues are you considering in doing this research, so as to make sure that you don't harm these participant or respondent of yours? Therefore, you need to deal with issues of ethics. So according to this book, then that is called axiology, but you'll read more about it when you read the articles on research. Let's take each of these. Let's talk about positivist paradigm. Positivist paradigm is based on scientific method of investigation, where observation and experimentation and reason based on experience ought to be the basis for understanding human behavior or human action. So in other words, we need to experiment something. We need to use experiment, observable results to come to conclusion. So therefore, experiments then will help us to produce what we call facts according to this paradigm. Research located in this paradigm rely on deductive logic. So it will say, here is the theory that we can use to reduce this data, the data generated from specific sources. And then it also talks about formulation of hypotheses. So hypotheses, these are statements that you test, or closed questions that you test, where you say, effectiveness of teaching methods, then that's your hypothesis that you need to test, because you are saying it's effective. This method of yours is effective. So you say effectiveness of this particular method, then you test it accordingly. And then you also have to, when you test those hypotheses, they will also give you, the theories will give you some operational definition that you need to follow, and mathematical equations that you need to follow, calculations that are there in order to derive conclusions. So the conclusions will come from specific hypotheses that are tested, and then you will then use that mathematical equations, calculations that will help you to derive conclusions. So it will bring you some conclusions. So the main aim of this paradigm is to explain, is to give you explanation. And then from the explanation, you will be able to predict the future based on those measurable outcomes. So it gives you measurable outcome. Remember, we said it's based on experimentation, observation, then that will then have to produce measurable outcomes that you are able to see, measure, and observe. That's what we then come to conclusion in terms of this paradigm. So its epistemology then is called objectivist, which means we can gain knowledge which help us to become more objective in understanding the world around us. So there is the knowledge that we need to be able to gain in order to be objective in what we are doing. But it is ontology then, it's called naive realistic ontology, which means that By means of our senses, we perceive the world directly and pretty much it as it is. So in other words here, what we have about the world is real. We are saying is real. So we use our senses to make sure that what we perceive is real and is justified and is justifiable according to the claims that we have from testing those hypotheses. And then in terms of methodology, it involves manipulation of variables. So one variable to determine whether changes is taking place when you deal with the other variable. So in other words, you may have two variables, like you have teaching methods that influence the performance of the learners. So teaching method may be your independent variable, and then you have performance of your students or your learners as independent variable. So teaching methods will then make sure that these learners they pass. So that teaching method then will be another variable that need to be tested to see to it that with this particular method, when we use it, performance will be good. We'll achieve higher performance on the basis of using this particular method. So there are two variables here: learning performance of your learners as independent variable is dependent on this particular method. That's why they are saying you are manipulating variables in order to make sure that those variables, the relationship between those variables is clear if this one is causing this one. So if this method is causing the failure of students, then we have to test that and see. That's how they say method for this particular paradigm. It's deal with the manipulation of one variable to determine whether changes is in that variable cause changes in another variable. Variable one, teaching method, is causing the high pass rate or high performance. Then we tested that if it is this teaching method that influence the learners to pass. And then in terms of oxyology for this paradigm, then refers to the requirements that all research should aim at maximizing good outcome for the research project, for human in general, and for the research respondents. So here it's saying the project that you are doing, it should be able to maximize the outcome. So outcomes should be good for your research project and for people around in general, and also for the respondents, because we'll have your research respondents, those that will be involved, those that will help you to get the data, and then you will make sure that you respect that, so the good outcomes are expected. Then we also have another paradigm called interpretivist paradigm or constructivist paradigm. This paradigm aims at understanding the subjective world of human experience. So the subjective world of experience, it's a priority for this paradigm. It makes an effort to get into the head of the participants being studied, so to speak, and to understand and interpret what the participant is thinking, or the meaning she is making from the context, because these participants of yours, they will be in a specific context. So the context may be a subject, which is business studies or mathematics, or it's a place where they are maybe in a South Coast, in an area in South Coast. So now what then researchers do, they try to deal with experiences of those participants, so that the participants will give them some data to be interpreted according to the needs of a researcher. So a researcher here will then conclude by using his or her experience through interaction with the participants. The key tenets of this paradigm is that reality is socially constructed. People have their experience. So when they say this is real, it's because they've constructed that through their own mind, from their own experience. So that's why they say is also said to be constructivism or constructivist paradigm, because researchers will construct through interaction with the participants and then produce new reality. So in terms of epistemology, this paradigm is saying we are living in a subjective world. Therefore, the answer that we may consider today may not be the answer for tomorrow. Therefore, it's subjective in a way, according to the need of that particular researcher. In terms of in terms of ontology, it says that it assumes a relativist ontology, so is closer to it, but it's subject to change according to the experience of the researcher. Methodology, there are naturalist methodology, because it involves something that you use naturally, asking your participants some question, which is the interview. You see, that's naturally way of doing it, or you ask them to reflect, something like that. And then when it comes to now oxyology, you will see that it's talking about balanced oxyology. How these are articulated here, this is how they are articulated. The subjectivist epistemology means that researchers make meaning of their data through their own thinking and cognitive processes of data, informed by interaction with participants. So researchers are the ones who will write this, taking this from their thinking or their cognitive process, and then produce the findings. So the findings will be coming from there. There is the understanding that the researcher will construct knowledge socially as a result of his or her personal experience of the real life within the natural setting explored. Because there is the natural setting explored, then the researchers may then use their personal experience to interpret what participants have generated. Then that will then be epistemology of this kind of this paradigm. Ontology then here, it means that there are multi-realities out there that we may construct according to what we have from the researchers. So ontology for this paradigm means that you believe that the situation studied has multiple realities. And that those realities can be explored and meaning made of them are socially constructed through the researcher interacting with the participant. So the key here is that it has many realities, multiple realities that are socially constructed. That is the ontology of this. And then when it comes to epistemology, it says that the researcher's experience will be important in making sure that whatever is coming from a participant is socially constructed according to the need of the study. Methodology then, it may utilize something like interview. Those that are naturalistic or naturally driven, so maybe part of this, and also reflective activities or reflection sections. So all those may be important so that the researcher then will become a participant observer. So in a way, researcher is part of them. That's why these are called participants, not respondents. Because in a positivist paradigm, we call them respondents because they are not participating, but they just respond to what is given to them. But here with this paradigm, they are participants because they are participating in discussion, and then they produce what we call data. In terms of balance oxyology, assume that the outcomes of research will reflect the values of the researcher, trying to present a balanced report of the findings. So now, values of the reporter. So in other words, the personal experience of the researcher. Here it's important because the researchers use their experience to explain what participants have produced. So that's what we have there as part of that. Then we may move to another paradigm called critical paradigm. Critical paradigm, or others will say this is transformative paradigm, because this research is about social justice. It deals with issues of social justice, how we address political issues, social issues, economic issues. So those issues are part of this critical paradigm. So when that is happening, the researchers become aware that we have social oppressions, conflict where we are working, where we are, struggles, power structures. So this paradigm then is saying, let's liberate those who are oppressed like that. So it's looking at the issue where justice has to be saved. So this paradigm then is called transformative paradigm, because when we do these processes trying to liberate those participants, all what we are doing, we are transforming them and transforming the situation around them so that they make sure that they are in a better position and moved out of that so-called oppression. Now, when it comes to epistemology, then researchers here strongly interact with participants to make sure that whatever they understand together, researchers and participants, in order for the researchers to transform. Ontology then, it will look at the issues of oppression, how these are relating to what the situation is taking place here. And then methodology, that is based in dialogue situation where you have to have debates and that in order for you to transform. Ontology then will consider more issues of respective culture, that the cultural norms are important. You should make sure that you address those when you conduct the study of when you use critical paradigm. And then we also have the fourth one, which is a pragmatic paradigm. Pragmatic paradigm promotes more practical approaches that could allow a combination of methods that in conjunction could shed light on the actual action of participants. So we deal with the actual action of participants. And then while we are dealing with the actual action of participants, which we are expecting, the action has to take place, because when you do something, you act accordingly. So then this paradigm is saying now, when these participants have these actions, let's understand their beliefs. What are their beliefs behind the action, as well as the consequences then of that particular action? So they move up to a stage where you talk about the consequences of those actions. So this paradigm now is saying you can combine any methods. You can have as many methods as possible. And then from those methods, you can now start to say, what action has taken place, and then you bring relevant method that will help you to establish the actual action of your participants. And then after that, you must think about their belief that when they do something, they do because because of certain beliefs. Now, once you have those beliefs, you must then understand, use a method that will help you to understand their beliefs. And then after that, you need to now start to say what likely to happen based on the consequences of this particular action. So this paradigm, it combines different methods. When these methods are combined, you take the most relevant methods that will help you to establish the action, what action has taken place, and then what was the belief of the participant when this participant was doing this particular thing, and then what were the consequences, and then you may then start now to project that for the future reference action when you take the next action. Then in terms then of epistemology, it's talking about the best method that you may use there. So relationship in research are best determined by what research with the researcher deem appropriate to that particular study. So you take the most relevant method to use at that particular stage. So it may happen that for now, the action needs interview, you jump and take interview. If it needs observation, you take observation. If it needs a questionnaire, you take questionnaire. So this paradigm, it's open enough to bring together different methods. So in terms of methods, then you can see there here that it may combine issues of quantitative and qualitative approach. It may combine these two or use one, but it will just it will work according to the needs. The need will drive what you bring there. Whether you have to have a situation where your research is dominated by quantitative issues or dominated by qualitative issues. Quantitative issues is where you use numbers to conclude, to say 10% were like this, 90% were like this. It means this issue is like this because 90% said this and this. Or you may use qualitative approach or methods where you would simply say, where you would simply say, this suggests that is like this and this and this, without necessarily using numbers. You are not worried about numbers, but you want in-depth analysis of what you are doing. But in quantitative approach, which works well with positivist paradigm, all what you need there is the numbers. You use numbers. But for a qualitative approach, you just use statement to justify why you are saying that is that. Because you may conduct a study today and discover that participants like this particular thing, and then tomorrow you may change it. Qualitative studies keep on changing because they have many realities. So that's why I use interpretivist paradigm. But for this one, which is pragmatic paradigm, it's open enough to bring both the interpretivist paradigm and the positivist paradigm together to say, let's work according to our strength. So if you need a strength of a positivist paradigm, you bring it. If you want the strength of interpretivist paradigm, you bring that. Then you work according to the most relevant method that you have ever used. So in terms of pragmatic paradigm, they are saying using one method to justify reality, for them, it doesn't make sense. Therefore, you need more than one method to interpret this. And those methods are the most suitable method, irrespective whether they are from positivist paradigm or interpretivist paradigm. That's what, colleagues, that's how we conclude our presentation, that we have these four paradigms. Positivist paradigm, we have interpretivist paradigm, we have a critical paradigm, as well as pragmatic paradigm. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. We will then see you in the next presentation. Thank you.